The boule work, which is the marquetry of brass and tortoiseshell, the only exception to marquetry being wood on wood. And applied ornaments all over here, the very beautifully grained marble top. And this we look at for the form, the bureau Mazarin, and again, of marquetry. This piece, these pieces, this shape. Okay? The point is the eight-legged, what you need to know, the bureau Mazarin, the eight-legged piece. This Baroque French versus English, you see exactly the same form for these armchairs. The English one has a heavier, more masculine kind of carving. The French one has delicate, refined carving, and we would tend to assume that the French was probably gilded. Most of the French would have been gilded. When we move from Baroque to Rococo, Rococo is a style of the aristocracy, not a style of the court. Rococo style is characterized by, before Rococo, you must remember the name Régence, which is the transitional style on the way to Rococo. And you just need to know that name, and remember that it's not the same thing as English Regency. Régence. R-E-G, and that again. I put all of this, I have put anything I mentioned and emphasizing, I put on the review sheet. Régence, Rococo is curves, it is motifs from nature, which is organic motifs. It is asymmetrical. It is, now the motifs from nature being flowers, leaves, vines, fantastic things, waves, flames, shells. It was called rocaille by the French, which reflected rock work, which came from the sea. Curves, lots of curving lines, even when they're not as curves. The cabriole leg on the furniture. The French cabriole leg, which is a shapely leg which has channels, a deep fluted channel usually down the side. It's going to end in a scroll foot, which is different from the English cabriole leg, which I'm going to show you later. You don't look at the back of the chair. The backs are very varied. You look, they have curves in it. You look at the leg, that's almost the only thing you need. And the curves and the informality of the Rococo style reflects the move to back of the court back to Paris, so that people from Versailles back to Paris, so that people entertained and lived basically in their own homes and entertained their friends there instead of spending all of their time at court. And it was reflected in this kind of ornament, in the curvy shapes, in the pastel coloring, which was a lightening up, the use of flowers here, and even in special pieces of furniture like a jewel chest, which was for Madame's boudoir. You didn't have a private boudoir necessarily, which you would furnish in the early period of the court. This shows you the two rooms you saw in the museum. The salon, first of all, they both have glossary paneling. All the 18th century French rooms did. These were real rooms. These have floors that have been recreated in the Madame, of course, museum ceiling. These are real rooms that were taken apart. They're paneling numbered and put together, reassembled at the museum. And they might have needed restoration, but these are the rooms from the real houses. Not the original furniture, because if you're tearing down a house, you might take the furniture with you. Sometimes there might be furniture from them. Much of the time, it's not furniture from the house, but it's furniture of the period. And sometimes, like this room, which was originally, I think, a bedroom, is set up as a salon. So they'll set the room up according to the furniture that they want to send out, to exhibit, but the room itself is authentic. And what do we see here? We look at the framework of the room, and we see all this frilly stuff and the curved line and the curving elements here and the curves of the interior of the fireplace. And then we look at the furniture with the cabriole legs, and we say this has to be Rococo. And what happens to this? And pastel colors. And the walls are always going to be light. And we come here, and what we've done is all the lines have straightened out. So this is going from Rococo to neoclassical. Why did Rococo die? 2 reasons. Well, Rococo, to begin with, was the most popular style of the 18th century. In England, in France, overwhelmingly, all of Europe, a little bit less in England. Less in England and America because we and the English ancestors were less fond of extravagant, frivolous style. Rococo was very frivolous. It was fun, it was charming. However, it began to be excessive. People thought frivolous is a good word, and undisciplined, and overdone. So they wanted a change. People grew tired of it. If you're going to change, what are you going to change to? You're going to change to something more secure, something more stable. You go from asymmetry to symmetry. What's symmetrical? Classical style. So the neoclassical revival, plus there was a second reason. The 2 major reasons for the change to neoclassicism were that Rococo had become excessive, but the second reason, what happened in the middle of the 18th century? What happened in historic terms?
Revolution.
What did they start to dig up? Remember Pompeii and Herculaneum? Yeah. Once they started excavating, this was in the 1750s. Everybody started thinking about what's coming out tomorrow. Look what we have here. Now we know what really was there, as opposed to imaginary scenes and little bits and pieces. So there was a great interest in neoclassicism, which led to simultaneous neoclassical revivals in England and France exactly the same time. And America only a little bit later, yes.
But